Good morning, everyone. This is Professor Hill, and this is a brief video for our class, Introduction to Ethics 2306 at St. Philip's College. Today is Friday, June the 16th, and we had an assignment that was due last night, and I'm working my way through those now, grading them and looking at them. And one thing leaps off the page, which is, as I thought would happen, we had people that came in and said what John did, John the paramedic, what he did was the right thing. Some people thought it was the wrong thing. Some people said, I can't tell you whether it's right or wrong, and we're kind of in a muddle. And it demonstrates that even when a lot of times we think, oh my gosh, this is a situation that has a clear-cut answer, everyone's going to agree with me, we quickly find that no, there's quite a diversity of not just opinions about this or preferences, but judgments. People worked their way through this, they looked at it, they thought about it, and then they made a calmed, reasoned decision. Now, I have to tell you, we have to talk about why is it the case that people can come to radically different positions on this. Some people think, yes, it was morally justifiable. Other people say, no, it was not morally justifiable. And we've got now a page filled with arguments back and forth about why that's the case. It shows that this is difficult. We're going to end up at different places, but does that mean that we can draw the conclusion that this is somehow just about our own opinions and that therefore you're entitled to your opinion, I'm entitled to mine? That gets us quickly to the position that he outlined in Chapter 2, which he describes as essentially emotivism, saying that not that these things are based on our emotions, but that there is no good and bad, right or wrong at all. That's one of the, in fact, we've got to make sure we're clear. When he's describing emotivism, he's not saying that someone's making their opinion based on their emotions, that that's somehow the foundation of your choice. He's saying, no. These are people that say that nothing is actually good or bad. There is no right or wrong. And that when people talk about it, they might just be expressing their emotions, but they're doing that because you cannot make a judgment about this, because there is no good or bad, right or wrong. Now, I don't think many of us would want to say that. He says in the book that there are people that are operating from this viewpoint, from this moral theory. I have to tell you, I've never met one. Not when you kind of pin down what that definition is. Because it's not what, if you saw just the term emotivism, you might think, well, it's somehow that's someone who's being guided by their emotions when they're making decisions. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about someone who says, nope, there's no good or bad, right or wrong. And so in response to that, I said, well, I hear people out there talking about morality. Oh, no, that's just them expressing their emotions or their opinions. And they're doing that because there really is no good or bad, right or wrong. Now, when you drag back to the other side of the equation, to the objectivists on one side who are saying, well, no, look, there is good and bad, right and wrong, and it's based on these principles or rules that apply to everybody, that there are some moral principles valid for everyone. Or to the other side, which is you have the relativists who are saying, no, look, there is good and bad, right and wrong, but it's essentially socially constructed. It comes from our societies. We determine this. We set the moral norms, and they flow from our culture, which is why they're different from culture to culture and place to place. Just like people have different food and language and religion, they also have different moral standards. Those are two very different ways of thinking about the foundation that our morality rests on. The emotivists are the ones that are kind of off the page altogether, saying, no, there is no moral foundation because there's no morality, there's no right or wrong, good or bad at all. Now, if you really believe that, let me know, because, like I said, I've never met anybody that actually believes that. So we've got to make sure we're clear about our definitions. In Chapter 2, when he's trying to lay these things out, those four things in particular, objectivism, and in terms of relativism, both cultural relativism and subjective relativism, and then emotivism, which essentially is kind of off the scale altogether. We're going to need those key terms and definitions as we move forward, again, past chapter 3 into 4, 5, and 6 on consequentialism and non-consequentialism. These are kind of some root terms that we had to have sorted out before we get to these two big schools of thought. We'll do more on that starting tomorrow, starting this weekend, because we have another case study coming up Sunday night. But for now, like I said, I'm getting into the grading. People have had some great contributions, some good arguments so far. That's always welcome. It's welcome because it helps us sort out and really think about what is my personal foundation for my brain. If I believe in good and bad, right and wrong, what's that grounded on? And this forces us to kind of articulate that. We have to pin it down, and that's not an easy thing to do. And just like he does say at the beginning of chapter 2, sometimes we move back and forth between those poles. Sometimes our thinking is objectivist, sometimes it's relativist. And in fact, even in some of the case studies, you might find that you reach a position, and when you go to give your reasoning behind it, you realize that, well, I really got, 3 or 4 reasons, and some of them are objectivist and some of them are relativist. That's the reality of our thinking and how we approach difficult ethical questions. Is that sometimes we feel like we're on a seesaw between these two poles, between objectivist thinking and relativist thinking. We're also about to discover that sometimes we feel like we're on a seesaw between consequentialism and non-consequentialism. And again, sometimes these things overlap. But we do want to make sure that we can think our way through these things, get a sense of who we are and what our foundation is, so that when we get to difficult ethical questions, which believe me, you're going to have in your life, that we're not caught off guard or flat-footed by these things. We've had a chance to think our way through this, to approach them, and I think that'll help us make those decisions and feel good about them on the other side of them. Anyway, let me finish getting through the grading. And I want people to, like I said, skip 3, go to 4, 5, and 6. Read those as a block. It's a lot of reading. But it'll help us now as we get to really the meat of this. I know this is it's a short summer class. It's only a few weeks. We have a lot to do. But so far, people are doing really quite well. So again, hang in there. Believe me, guys, it's going to be over soon. So take care and good luck with the next assignment. Bye-bye.